Last year, I was challenged by the National Park Service to come up with a kind of an outreach program for the Get Outdoors Day, and having spent a little time at that point with Roberto and knowing a little bit about his family story, it made sense to actually recreate his family's 1950s camping experience with very minimal gear in then places like Yosemite and Yellowstone National Parks.
In 1956, my father happened to see a movie called The Long, Long Trailer that starred Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz, who were obviously TV icons of the 1950s, and Ricky Ricardo, or Desi Arnaz, actually was the first Hispanic icon in television. Well, my father used to identify with him. And in this movie, The Long, Long Trailer, which we actually show in our Camp Moreno tent, there's a scene in which Lucy and Ricky are pulling the trailer through Yosemite National Park. And they pass by all these great iconic sites in Yosemite. And my father saw that, and he literally came home that day and said, "Look, if Desi Arnaz can go to Yosemite, so can we."
We have two different camps. We have the old Camp Moreno, about 1957, and then we have the new Camp Moreno, which is how the family continues to camp today. The family now camps with the grandkids. So you've got 5 generations of Morenos who've been involved with national parks and camping.
What we have here is a replica of our family's campground in Yosemite Valley National Park back in 1956. Obviously, before all of you guys were born. And anyway, there's a big difference between the campground that we have today, where we have much newer equipment, and then the equipment that we used to have when we were little niñitos like you guys. But the principal differences, for example, is that we used to use these old canvas tents, and they put oil on them, all right, and that basically made them waterproof, and they were very, very heavy. And for furniture, we used to use old orange crates like this. And my father came up with the idea, of, putting a name on them, our name on them. And like a lot of people, when they go camping, they end up developing a relationship with the land, with the tierra, and a proprietary sort of view of their area, and they end up calling their campground after their name. So in our case, it was Camp Moreno, because that was our last name.
As we come into the new Camp Moreno, we've got numerous tents with rain flies. We're here to show you what you need to go camping. Your cots, your sleeping bags, tables, coolers, water, your food, and you can do all of this very, very reasonably. At Camp Moreno, we do have an equipment bank. So if you're first timers and you're just starting out camping, we want you to be comfortable. We want you to be prepared for weather, everything you're going to run into in the outdoors.
Anything. You can bring sandwiches, salad, huevos con chorizo.
One of the messages I think we're trying to convey here today is that ethnic foods are very, very well prepared in the outdoors. Anything you do at home, you can do in the outdoors.
It's tough to get a lot of young people, especially inner city kids, outdoors, because a couple of things that people really need to do that. One, they need transportation. Young kids don't drive, so they need somebody to get them there. The other thing they need is they need a kind of social permission. One of the best indicators of whether or not you'll use outdoor lands as an adult is whether or not you did as a child.
The fundamental thing is to get emerging population to understand the value associated with mountain recreation, to understand the education value, to understand the fundamental health and wellness benefit. And that aspirational quality was something that we really don't talk enough about. And it's something that I had the opportunity of enjoying firsthand, because between the age of 7 and about 16, I spent every summer in Yosemite National Park. And the fact is that even though I was a kid from a low socioeconomic status family with not much resources, frankly, all of those summers that I spent in Yosemite and all that time that I spent in national parks has been very, very empowering. It can send a fundamental message to a kid that there's a world out there that's maybe better than the one that you grew up in.